Hello everyone, my name is Kieran. Welcome to the massive Manchester United season review, and I'm really looking forward to it. Some United fans in terms of the season are a bit pessimistic, but we're going to try and keep it as optimistic as possible on this channel. But before I get into anything, we do have a very special guest on the channel. It is Rodney from the On Off the Pitch podcast. How are you doing this evening, Rodney?
I'm fine, thank you for asking me to come on. I hope everyone can hear me clearly, so that's all right.
Yeah, I think it's fine. I think the audio's good as well, so we're all set to go. But before we get into it as well, please do subscribe to his channel. His link is in the description down below. Some really good stuff on there, so make sure you do check it out if you haven't already. So, obviously the season preview. The main thing everyone wants to ask, and what I've got down there, is can we get top four? That seems to be the main question on Manchester United fans' lips, and a lot of people are saying with the signings that we didn't do and the places that we didn't strengthen, it's going to be difficult for us to get top four, especially when you look at what the business that Arsenal have done and that Spurs have done as well. It's going to be very difficult for us to get top four. I'm going to go straight into it with you, Rodney. Do you think United will get top four this year, realistically?
No.
There we go. There we go. Brutally honest answer.
I don't think so. I think I mean, apart from the other challenges in the league in terms of what they've acquired, when you look at Spurs, obviously who were in the top four, they've strengthened their midfield, which was the key area for them. Liverpool, who have started their campaign off tonight, looks like they've not been away from the last season. I don't believe they've actually had a break, but they've continued their good form. Manchester City, obviously, we know the quality of the players that they have at their disposal. Then you've got Chelsea, and Chelsea for me are the ones that I'm concerned about when I'm looking at the top four. So when I look at those four, I think, how can Manchester United remove them from the positions that they have? So let's say the top three kind of beyond Manchester United, considering what Manchester United have brought in. Now, I know that a lot of people will say to me, Rodney, you're a doomsmonger, your cup is always half full. The reality is that Manchester United had a weakness in more than one area. They had a problem up front in terms of their striker they didn't like, or we deemed inadequate and not part of the Manchester United legacy and history of stylish strikers. There was a lack of goals from midfield, a lack of in all honesty, a lack of creativity from midfield, and there were problems in the defence. We've looked at the defence, strengthened that with two, I think, good defenders. One unproven in terms of the top level, another one you could say that Manchester United paid over the odds because Mr. Woodward decided there was no value in the market 12 months ago, but he goes back to the same shop with the same goods and pays more money than he would have done previously. So you then have to look at Daniel James now. I'm not writing him off. I think he's an interesting young talent. I think that his game is about speed, which adds to the speed of Lingard and Rashford. But are we, in all honesty, hand on heart as United fans, expecting any of these guys to get, and this is the thing, I'm going to be very careful with my words, league goals? Are we expecting them to get 15 league goals? Because that's the era that we're looking at. Because it's if you want to be in the top four, you need to score goals in the league. It's not cup, not your Carling Cup or your Paper Cup or your FA Cup. It's the league, and the goals in the league are the ones that count. The ones beyond the league are for the player's personal level of interest. But if you, as a fan, are interested in Manchester United breaking into the top four, then you're going to need Rashford, Martial, Daniel James, any other midfielder that is in that position to get 15 plus league goals. That's what you want. And then especially you want your striker to get 20. So we can, in all honesty, talk about statistics and say certain people got so many league goals last year and that was their best season. You know who I'm talking about. I'll be honest with you. I'm looking forward to the season, but I'm not stupidly trying to say that Manchester United are going to jump from sixth to fourth or sixth to third. It would have to be a catastrophic season for every other team above Manchester. Yeah, really, like on a biblical stage for them to be wiped. Yeah, for them to be wiped out. Catastrophic. You know, I don't know if you've ever seen the film Deep Impact.
I haven't seen it.
You know, kind of end of it's the end of the world where a meteor hits the ocean and there's a big tsunami. It's one of those moments when, you know, everyone just looks out to the sea and there's this massive wave and they don't even try and run. They just think, oh, well, it's too late, so let's just stand there and take it. It would have to be one of those moments. So as much as I am upbeat, I'm too old to talk silliness in terms of Man United chat. I'm too old. I've seen it all.
You've seen it all. Seen it all.
And it has to be, yeah, I've seen enough. I started supporting Manchester United before they'd even won the Premier League. You know, so there are some fans that don't understand what it is not to win the Premier League for a long time. And things have come full circle. So if I were to be honest, hand on heart, I would say Manchester United right now have a very good chance to challenge for the top four, but I'm not expecting them to win the league. But you have to then disregard all of the other teams that are above them as well.
Well, I mean, I think that's a good point, to be honest with you. I think, I mean, obviously, I want to be optimistic, but at the same time, as I look at, you know, the other teams, you know, like the Chelseas, like the Arsenals, like the Spurses, it does look very, very difficult for us to break into that top four. And whilst we've done good business, there are still definitely gaping holes there. And Solskjaer came out today and said, obviously, it's not about quick fixes and it's not about signing the players that the fans want and the people on Twitter want. And I do get that, and I do kind of stand with that in a way. But at the same time, there are definitely places where we have missed out strengthening. And I think looking at what Arsenal and Spurs have done, I think it's going to be difficult. Welcome to everyone who has joined us, by the way. Welcome to RB Comps, Ryan as well, Dazza and the Football Hub. Thanks for joining, guys. Please do get your thoughts in the live chat. We want to hear from you, what your predictions are for Manchester United season. And also, a question that I'm going to ask in just a second. Which out of the three signings do you think will have the biggest impact on the way Manchester United play this season? So RB Com says, in his opinion, obviously an outsider opinion from a Juventus fan, he says, in my opinion, fifth if Pogba goes, sixth. There you go. So he's putting a lot of faith in Paul Pogba there, saying if Pogba leaves, we could finish in sixth place. I tell you, I've got to say, I think a lot of people would say that Paul Pogba is definitely going to be an important player if he does stay. But we'll see. I mean, personally, I think I find it hard to think that Paul Pogba isn't going to leave, especially after, you know, what he said in the press this summer. But we'll wait and see on that one, of course. Ryan, welcome to stream. He says, "Is Rodney still in the United stand?" I mean, it's not a question for me, that one. Rodney, do you want to take it away on that one?
It's been a long time since I've been on there. I still consider myself part of their success. They've been really good. They've done extremely well. But it's been a long time. It's been a while. So hopefully I'll do a guest spot on there. You never know. But I can't say yes or no to that. It's it's like saying, am I part of the United Kingdom? I am, but I'm not. I have no idea. I'm here. But I'm going to go on a holiday, so at some point I'll come back.
That is very true. So there you go. He heard it there first. Heard it here first. Ryan also goes with, he says, I think we'll come fifth or sixth, but we can get top four. So you're saying it's a possibility, but not realistically. That's kind of what you're saying. But it's a possibility. I mean, I like that optimism. At least you're not ruling out completely. Dazza says, or Dazza welcome to stream. Thanks for joining. He says, didn't know you having guests on, lol. Evening all, by the way. Evening to you, Darryl. And definitely when we do have call-ins and things like that, you're always welcome, as always, Darryl. And he also says fifth place for him. So no one has predicted top four. No one out of the people who've come on, which is telling. It's pretty telling, really. And also welcome Nick, thanks for joining, saying Norwich is going down. Of course, Norwich, I mean, they pulled one back, but it is 4-1 in the game. So you never know. I think, I mean, this is not a Norwich preview show, but I'm gonna, if I was gonna predict where Norwich are gonna finish, I'd say probably just below the, well, they're just gonna go down, I reckon. So that 18th place for me, I feel like Norwich. But we'll see, of course, it's early days. And welcome, Phil Mitchell. Thanks for joining. Really appreciate it, as always. Please do keep getting your comments in. We are going to be reading them out throughout the stream. But the next thing I want to ask Rodney, is obviously we've made 3 signings, which is the good thing. We have strengthened in kind of 3 areas of the pitch. In terms of the 3 that we have brought in, who do you think is going to have the biggest impact this season on the way we play?
On the way we play. To be honest, I think from what I've seen of Harry Wan-Bissaka, I think he's added a certain amount of solidity to the defence on that side. He's definitely someone who is not shy in going forward. He obviously has the ability to track back and cover up any kind of areas where he may have left vacant. But what I will say is it's not an area that I would expect to get many goals from. So I know a lot of people talk about, can he cross? But he's a defender first and foremost. So I'm looking for what he does in the defensive aspect of his job. Sometimes I think that the narrative has been far too heavy in one direction in terms of the defenders, that they need to get forward and they need to put quality. Not all defenders can do that. We've seen that for years with Antonio Valencia. I wouldn't necessarily say that Luke Shaw is the best crosser of the ball. And let's be honest, we've had players in the midfield that can't cross the ball for toffee. So you've got... I cannot say anyone in the United midfield that crosses the ball extremely well, and the percentage of goals that Man United have scored from those crosses have been extremely high. Maybe someone will correct me, but in terms of a defensive setup, in terms of being slightly more solid at the back and probably more attractive to the eye, that I would say Harry Wan-Bissaka. It would be interesting to see how Harry Maguire settles in and what he does, because I think that he is obviously someone of great ability, and I'll say that, and people will question me why. I think footballers are always measured on their speed but never their intelligence, never. So I think it's, if you're spending that amount of money, you want a footballer to be intelligent. And 9 times out of 10, whenever we say a forward is quick, in the final third, their judgment is off. So, if anything, I would expect that Harry Maguire, his intelligence on the ball, off the ball, conducting the individuals around him, will have as big an impact as Aaron Wan-Bissaka, which will hopefully allow those further afield to kind of deliver the goods. But it's not necessarily rich pickings when you're saying which out of the 3 players will have the biggest impact on a team that finished 6th. Let's be honest. Manchester United,
that is true.
Manchester United finished 6th and 32 points behind the winners of the league and 31 behind the second. So what can you do? What are we realistically expecting from those 3 players? Daniel James, in his season at Swansea, he scored 4 goals. He's not known as a prolific goal scorer. Aaron Wan-Bissaka, not known as a prolific goal scorer. Harry Maguire, not known as as much as we need to stop conceding. Manchester United have always been built upon the fact that we can score goals. When you think about, your Dwight York, Andy Cole, Teddy Sheringham, Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, your Diego Forlans, it doesn't matter who you, Mark Hughes, go back. Manchester United have had goal scorers who scored bagfuls of goals. And that's when the defence used to let goals in. Now we've got to concern ourselves with, obviously, defenders that have not been up to the mark. Hopefully we've got 2 that can help those kind of re-establish themselves. But there's still the question of, can Manchester United score enough goals and score more than the opposition? So it's going to be interesting. But in terms of what you asked me originally, I'm going to have to go with Aaron Wan-Bissaka. But in all honesty, what does that tell me about my choice out of the 3 that I'm choosing the right back?
Yeah, I
as
mean,
the most. I'm not even choosing Daniel James.
there you go. I mean, I think ultimately, I think Aaron Wan-Bissaka has shown a lot of promise, I have to say. But I do agree with your point that, I mean, we've sold Lukaku, of course, and obviously we got the money, we got the benefit of the money we brought in. Whether that's going to be reinvested, I'm not too sure. But we now have a situation where Anthony Martial and Marcus Rashford are really our main two forward men. They're our main focal point going forward. Now, I'm not sure. I think potentially Anthony Martial, when he was number 9, when he first got brought in, scored 20 goals. But as you said, they weren't 20 league goals. It was 20. I think it was about 20 goals over the season. So as you say, it is slim pickings in a way. I mean, I personally do. I think if I was going to pick out the 3, I'd probably go with. I think I'll go with Harry Maguire, just because in terms just almost. But it's not really about him alone. It's about almost the partnership he can form with one of our defenders, and hopefully, touch wood, he doesn't get injured. We could have a really, really good partnership there. But as you said, we are, if it's all well and good, kind of strengthening defensively, which we definitely did have to do. But as well going forward, I mean, unless Martial can have an absolute blinder of a season, or even Mason Greenwood, but to put all that kind of hope into Mason Greenwood is risky, but we'll see what happens, of course. Just want to welcome a few people as well. Welcome to TTX, thanks for joining. Welcome to Patrick or 20 Sports, thanks for joining as well. And the Red Devil, thanks for joining, really appreciate it. By the way, don't worry, I'll get you on another video, don't worry about that. We all have PC issues, it's all technology, don't worry about it, mate.
I know that one.
Yeah, exactly. We've all experienced that. So, honestly, don't worry about it. Don't worry. It happens to the best of us. TTX says, good evening. I'm more excited about the Man United women's season than the men's. Interesting. I mean, I tell you what.
About it.
After the business we've done in this window, I wouldn't be surprised if many people showed your, shared your point of view. I mean, I did see, however, the recent news on Man United women was, in fact, the woman in the in the thumbnail. Alex Greenwood, of course, going to
Alex
Lyon.
Greenwood, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's the captain.
Let's just say that caused a slight amount of dismay.
Yeah,
I'll use the words cautiously, and I have actually recorded 2 pods
really?
with the Barmy Army crew, so that one of those will be going out tonight, and the other one will go out tomorrow. So, yeah. Yes, it's strange that a club so close to the start of a new season in the Women's Super League has sold their captain, basically, and not only their captain, but an England international to boot. So,
I mean, yeah,
strange.
It seems like a strange decision, to be honest with you, and I did see a lot of people reacting to on Twitter. Not exactly the happiest bunch, but anyway, I mean,
no.
Obviously, it's good to see Man United in the top tier of women's football as well. So hopefully they have a good season. A few more people commenting here. Patrick says they are not prolific because they're not strikers. I believe you're probably talking about Rashford and Martial there. I mean, to be honest with you, I think they would like to think of themselves as strikers. I think for me, Martial, I mean, he in his kind of social medias, he's still got AM9 as his kind of tag, his kind of what he advertises himself as. So I think he still sees himself as a striker, but I think in the last few years he's obviously been playing out wide because of Lukaku. So maybe it's his big chance, but in the same time, has he shown enough evidence to say that if he was to be number 9, which he obviously is now, that he'd be able to score the goals? I'm not too sure. I hope I'm wrong. I hope I'm wrong, because I hope he has a really, really good season. But at the same time, I'm not sure he's shown enough to us. Sport Guru's joined. Well, thanks for joining. By the way, as well, as Rodney was saying, he's recorded a few podcasts about the women's game, and also he talks about Man United in general as well. All great stuff on there. Just to remind you, his link is in the description down below. If you haven't already checked him out, really would recommend you do so. Phil says Martial is the only player at the club that can put your house that you can put your house on that he will score when it's 1-on-1. I mean, it's true, but at the same time, I've seen him miss a few. But again, I hope I'm wrong. I hope I'm wrong, mate. I appreciate your optimism.
Yeah.
I appreciate your optimism. And the Sport Guru says 100% you can get top 4, lad. You're shored up the defence, and that's one area fixed. It is one area that has been addressed really well. But at the same time, as I said, there's still gaps there. There's definitely still gaps there. But obviously, we're kind of, the chat seems to be talking a bit about Anthony Martial. We may as well have a bit of a conversation. Yeah. Anthony Martial, of course, getting back that number 9 shirt. Do you think he will be able to have an impact up front like we saw when he first came in under Louis van Gaal? Or do you think Solskjaer potentially will be looking at playing Rashford and Martial as almost a front pairing?
I think that Ole Gunnar Solskjaer is under immense pressure. You sell a striker who, as I've said, his first touch wasn't the greatest, but his goal-scoring record couldn't be challenged at Manchester United. You're not really thinking about it, and you're going to have 2 young, eager, fast players, hopefully to match the number of goals that he scored. I don't know whether or not Ole will play them together, or he'll choose to rotate and leave one on the bench and bring someone on as an impact sub. The likelihood of that happening would probably be Rashford, because I think he's slightly more explosive when he comes off the bench. Anthony Martial is more, he likes the link-up play slightly more as well, in terms of looking for the 1-2s. I think Rashford is more trying to the ball over the top and running onto that, or if he's one-on-one, he'll try and skip past him quickly and get shots on target. Can Ole rely on both of them? I don't know. You'd like to think so. You'd like to think so, and I hope that they both get one. I should not say they won't get their chance; they will get their chance. But I hope they take the chances that fall their way during games, so that they can actually break into double figures and break into double figures comfortably. I'm not just talking about 11 or 12 goals over a 38-game season. I'm talking about 15 goals, 15 league goals. That's when you can look at someone and go, yeah, they're actually contributing in the league. Because as I'll say again, I'm not interested in if you score 5 goals in the tin cup competition or the paper cup. I'm not interested. I don't care. People say it might take you to a cup final. I get that, but the cup finals that take place in February and March, no one's really interested in. They're only interested in top 4. They're only interested in Champions League. They're only interested in the Premier League. And if Manchester United aren't challenging in any of those, or even in the Europa League competition, which is like travelling from here to Mars, then it doesn't matter. Then it doesn't matter. You really do need to deliver. So I think as much as Ole's under pressure, both of those players are under pressure as well. Maybe not as much, but they will be expected to deliver. But I've got no doubt that they're confident enough to kind of perform on the day. But sometimes you need more than confidence and ability. You need luck as well, because you're playing against another set of footballers who have trained just as hard, or maybe even harder, to stop you scoring goals. So you have to wait and see.
Exactly. I mean, I think that's a good point you made there about, sometimes you do need more than luck and passion. And I think if you look at Man City, Liverpool, their front 3, I mean, they don't really need luck. I'm going to be honest. They've got enough firepower in there. And I mean, as I said, I feel like, Martial and Rashford, they've got the tools to be really, really good players, and hopefully, as you say, break into the top figures comfortably. But at the same time, I don't know. I don't see it. But as I said, I'm trying to keep it optimistic. But I do feel like we might struggle for goals this season unless either one of Rashford or Martial has just a breakout season of some sort, and we'll have to hope and wait and see if that does happen. I can see a bit of an EastEnders storyline going on in the chat here with Phil Mitchell. So I'll leave you to that. I'm not gonna, I'll leave it to Albert Square. But thanks for leaving your thoughts in the live chat anyway. As I said, keep them coming. Phil Mitchell says we need Ben Chilwell. Luke Shaw isn't good enough. Well, I mean, to be fair, last season a lot of people were going on about Luke Shaw like he was the best thing since sliced bread, and now, you know, obviously Phil there's brought up Ben Chilwell. I think he's a decent player, but realistically, would Leicester want to sell to us again? Maybe, because actually Ed Woodward's willing to pay over the odds for players. So maybe, you know, Leicester's owners are rubbing their hands at the prospect of United coming back again. But actually, we'll see what happens with Ben Chilwell. I mean, I think Luke Shaw definitely has a point to prove, and if he doesn't prove it this season, I do fear for him, because we've had a bit of a problem at that sort of at the fullback role. Obviously, we brought in Wan-Bissaka, who seemingly looks like he's going to be a good player for us, and I hope he is. But of course, the left back role is still one up for debate. I think Luke Shaw, of course, has got it now, but you know, we'll see what happens in a few years' time. I hope he does. You know, hopefully, if he has an injury-free season, I can see him doing all right. To be fair, but one bit we haven't really talked about is United's midfield options, and of course, the big hullabaloo as well on deadline day was the fact that we hadn't strengthened in the midfield. I wanted to get your thoughts on it, Rodney. In terms of our midfield.
Yeah.
Do you think? Well, I'm going to say I was going to say it's a bit of a stupid question, but do you think this midfield is strong enough to get anywhere near top 4? Do you think it rests on whether Paul Pogba has a good game? What are your thoughts?
I think this midfield is what it does have is more legs. But it's strange when I say it has more legs in the sense of more urgency on the ball and quicker around the pitch because of Daniel James, because of what we've seen from McTominay in the pre-season. But we still have Matic. We still have Mata. They're not necessarily known for their speed. Fred was inconsistent for me in terms of the amount of time he was on the pitch and what we expected from him. Maybe we expected too much. Lingard, you know, has... this is the thing about Jesse Lingard. He is the scorer of great goals, but he's not a great goal scorer.
Yeah.
You know, he scored he has scored some memorable goals for Manchester United, but would I say he's prolific from midfield in terms of the position that he's afforded in the game? I don't know. Paul Pogba scored... How many goals did he score in the end? 16?
Something
16
like
goals?
16, something like
16.
that, yeah.
And, you know, and to be honest, and some were saying, and this is what I question and I challenge, they say that was his best season. No, that was his best last half of the season. Let's go back to before Ollie arrived and check out the performances and the histrionics that went before Ollie arrived. No one would have said that he had a great season then. So I think people, what they need to do is be kind of accurate with their memory, because I know that memory is through a filter of good times. I would say he had a very good second half of the season, and his penalty goal haul helped elevate that, because that's what it did. Am I expecting him to score the same number of goals that he scored last season? I think that's probably the most he's ever scored in his career per season. I think normally when he was at Juve, he was getting roughly on average about 11 or 12 goals a season. So that was a good season for him necessarily. And I heard a lot of people say, oh, it was a great season for Paul, but Manchester United as a team finished 6th. So was it really a great season? Do I see this team, this midfield challenging? I see them putting up a good fist in most of the games. But, you know, unless all of a sudden they're all going to start scoring goals for fun, I don't know. But then they could actually do just that. You know, it could be that Jesse Lingard is on a hot streak and he scores 6 or 7 league goals within, you know, the first 2 or 3 months, which would be fantastic. The same for Scott McTominay. He might get himself a couple. He might get 5 or 6. And with that, what we then have is kind of a domino effect. The other midfielders will think, well, we need to step up and we need to start scoring more goals, or the opportunities might arise for them to score more goals within games. So it could be, it may take one person to be the prolific goal scorer, and then as a domino effect. But from the number of seasons that we have watched this team, there is no one that's going to stand out for me. And I'm not talking about takeaway penalties. I'm talking about scoring goals from the middle of the park or around the box that you can say consistently, you would say, yeah, they're definitely going to score these goals this season. They're definitely going to get 10. They're definitely going to get it. No one can say that about any of them. I would excuse McTominay and I would excuse Fred, but for the rest, you can't. You're not going to say that. And Mata, I do like Mata. He always gets in and around the goals when he's on. But how many games will he actually get this season? And that will all depend on the formation that Ollie starts with in every game, and will he be bold enough to? And as you've said, will Martial and Rashford start? If both of those guys start, then you're going to need to have a certain number of individuals in midfield or someone on the wing if Ollie wants to play 4-3-3. And he's not going to put Daniel James on the bench. So what does that mean for Mata? And what does that mean? Do you know there are so many questions to be asked about the formation. How do they all fit in? And once they're on, you not only just want them to play well and contribute with assists, you want someone in the midfield to score a goal, not just the strikers. Because if the strikers don't score, then who do you look to?
No, 100%, and that's the thing, especially with having a kind of some people would say quite a slim picking in terms of our forward line. I think the midfield do have to pitch in, and I think ultimately, Scott McTominay, I thought actually last season, especially towards the end of last season, he did all right. Although, to be honest with you, with the way we were playing towards the end of last season, that wasn't really, it wasn't hard to stand out, if you know what I mean. So I think Scott McTominay for me is, I think he's a decent player. He's someone who really does work for the team. But I think, look, obviously pre-season doesn't really, isn't a great indicator. But what I have seen in pre-season, when we didn't have Paul Pogba in that midfield, in terms of creating chances as well as kind of scoring from that midfield, I don't see too many chances being created. I don't see too many goals being scored from that midfield. So it's going to be very interesting to see how we start on that first game of the season and how we also progress through the season as well in terms of our starting lineups, because as you said, there's a lot of questions to be answered. Obviously Daniel James, Juan Mata, lots of questions. So it's going to be very interesting from that point of view to see how that develops. Welcome to Red Devil Studio as well. Thanks for joining. Really appreciate it. Really, really good channel as well. Really, really good for Man United content. Make sure you do check it out if you haven't already. The Full Hub, Alisson's injured. Yep, I saw it. Alisson got injured. Although we're not celebrating that here. We don't celebrate injuries here, even if it is for Liverpool. The game's finished as well. I think Liverpool have got their first win of the season. It's going to be a long season if that sort of scoreline is going to be happening at Anfield every week. But, what can you do? Liverpool are back. As you said, Ronnie, it doesn't even look like they've even had a break. It looks like they've just continued from where they've been last season. And a sobering lesson for Norwich, I think. But, of course, as I said, it's not a Norwich channel. The EastEnders thing is still going in the live chat. I love it. But, yeah, I think the final thing I want to ask you, because I am cautious of time, the one thing I want to ask you is just, in terms of the season as a whole, what do you want to get out of it as a Manchester United fan? What would you like to see?
What would I like to see out of the season?
As a whole, is there anything at the end of the season, I don't know how to phrase this, but almost, is there anything kind of, you want to get out of it as a Man United fan? What do you want to, at the end of the season, what do you want to feel like, what sort of progress do you want to see happening?
I think apart from that being a really difficult question, and it is, because to say what do you want, I would love, obviously, Manchester United to win the league, but you can be driven by passion and hope, but there's always the sense of being sensible as well and being realistic. I would like to see, obviously, good football. That's what I'm hoping to see. I would like to see, obviously, the never say die attitude that Manchester United have always been linked to and known for. and not to see any of the pedestrian performances that we saw last season from some of our big name players, notably, and I'll say it, Paul Pogba, because there were times everyone, and this is the thing, that has been said time and time again about this young man. He hasn't got the players around him. He's not happy with the quality of the players. Look at all of the deadwood that people will say that are there. Let's look at the transfers that have been brought in. You wouldn't say that about Daniel James being quality. You wouldn't necessarily Wan-Bissaka, because no one really would have looked at him, and everyone said that Harry Maguire is too slow. So out of all of the 3 signings, for all of those Pogba FC fans that said he hasn't got enough quality, what's changed? No, seriously, what's changed apart from Lukaku leaving? What's changed? Nothing has changed. So I'm expecting to see the players that down tools last year, when Jose was there, and for the latter part of Ole, because remember the words that Ole used, there are certain players in this club that will not see the start of the season. And I think that for Ole, which is why I believe he's got a tough task, he seems to have forgotten that Manchester United fans not only have a memory, but they actually save things on their smartphones. Unfortunately, it's the sign of the times. You say something and someone will save it just for the moment when you said, look at what you said before. Do you remember? So it's okay for him to say on the press conference that you can't buy players that the fans want on social media. The fans weren't briefing the press about Dybala. The fans weren't briefing the press about James Maddison or Tielemans or Man Utd or any other player that Manchester. The fans weren't doing any of that. That was coming from the club. That was coming from the club. We're in talks. We're in conversation with. That's coming from the club. You do have the odd rogue Twitter account that you kind of read it and shake your head and think someone's escaped from the Arkham Asylum, but but in all honesty, I don't think any Manchester United fan, apart from the really, really deluded ones, will say that we're going to win the league. It'd have to be from, and this is going on what we have seen before, not about purchases, just expecting to know that the club finished so far behind the top two, and nothing much has changed in terms of player acquisition. Obviously, the speed of pre-season looks quicker than it has been for quite some time, but pre-season is pre-season. As I've said, you can look poor in pre-season like Liverpool did, and then as soon as the league kicks in, they dismantle the team at their home ground and get 3 points, and they start off where they left off. And sometimes some clubs start off where they left off in terms of how they ended the season. Manchester United ended the last season really, really badly. So they need to make sure they don't start the season the way they ended.
No, I honestly agree. And you know what? I think we need to make a fast start, and to play against Chelsea the first game of the season, then away to Wolves is almost going to be the best test that we could have got. There's no kind of easy games against kind of newly promoted clubs or anything like that. It's right into the thick of it, and we're going to really see what this team is like. So I'm looking forward to that game, that Chelsea game on Sunday, of course. But as you said, obviously Rodney there saying it how it is. If you think we're going to win the league, we're deluded. Well, if Leicester can do it, so can we. But anyway,
I can see the chat. I can see the comments in the chat. They're making me laugh as well.
Yeah, I know. There's a bit, almost a script down there. What?
It is.
Tune into Albert Square, obviously. EastEnders, PBC One. That's all I'm gonna. That's all the EastEnders promotion I'm gonna do, because I get enough promotion. Anyway, Rodney, thank you so much for joining me. Really appreciate your time. And by the way, problem. Make sure you do check out his channel in the link in the description down below. Really, really good stuff on there. Obviously in the live chat there as well. On Off the Pitch podcast, one of the best podcasts around. So make sure you do check it out. And yes, thank you so much to everyone who has joined us tonight. Really appreciate it. The main thing I want to leave you with is the fact that it's unpredictable. You can't really predict anything. Obviously we hope for the best, but you know, we're just going to have to see what happens and enjoy the ride, because it's definitely going to be a roller coaster ride. Hopefully of good emotions rather than bad emotions. But oh, Rashford, you just joined. Oh, sorry, man. We're just about to leave. But yeah, but thanks for joining, Rashford. Anyway, really appreciate it.
Is that the gentleman that does your graphics? Very nice indeed.
Oh yeah, it is, yeah. Rashford. I mean, he's a wizard, absolute wizard. Red Devil Studio said it is unpredictable. Couldn't agree more, mate. Could not agree more. Hope is what we're going with. Exactly. And he also finally says we need to stay positive, and I like that. End on a positive note. But at the end of the day, Liverpool just won 4-1, so it's hard to be positive right now. But tomorrow, of course, is a new day. It's a new dawn, and we're going to go into it and hope for the best. Hopefully we can win a trophy at least. I mean, if we win a trophy, get 4th place, I'll be happy. That's probably a bit unrealistic, but I'm rambling a bit now. We're going to end it here. Thank you so much, everyone, for watching. Thank you, Rodney, for coming on, and really appreciate your time. And make sure you do check his channel in the description down below if you haven't already. Subscribe if you're new, and also if you're watching as a video, don't be afraid to leave your comment on the season. What are your thoughts going into this new season? But anyway, thanks for watching, and we'll see you guys tomorrow for the Chelsea preview. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.